Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Having a Ball. Today's episode is brought to you by morphine.
So yeah, the morphine is the shit, eh?
It is absolutely the shit. It saved the day, one could say, or days.
In a good way.
As everybody can see, hi everybody. Yeah, hi everybody. We're back together in the studio, or so to speak. I guess most of you saw the episode with Andreas on his own.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if people thought like me, but when I watched it, sorry, there might be some hiccuping during the episode.
No worries.
I thought you took about 45 seconds before not actually mentioning I was dead. I wondered if anybody watched the first 45 seconds thinking that was the announcement coming.
That would have been rough. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Although you posted it, like the Facebook post and the message with it made it clear I wasn't.
Uh-huh.
But just to have you sitting there all somber and saying this is going to be a bit of a different episode or whatever, it felt to me like you could have been announcing my death.
That would have been really awkward if I did, because you're alive. But, you know.
Would have made for a great twist for this episode, though. Mind you, as we'll see, I don't think we had to make up any twists.
That's true. That is true. I'm very happy that you're strong enough or morphined up enough to do this. And I think everyone will understand that if you cough or sneeze or hiccup or have to lie down during the episode.
Yeah, because the episode, I mean, no, my general appearance between today and yesterday is like a Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz movie.
What's it called? I can't remember.
It's night and day.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't actually think that would work. You might want to cut that one out. Who knows?
So you're saying you look better now?
I feel much better.
So you were Tom Cruise yesterday and Cameron Diaz today, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, I just meant the night and day bit. The difference is really night and day. But yeah, that was really nice of you to do that episode yesterday because you offered to do it. I had thought about it asking you because it had been 3 weeks since the last episode. And I basically knew if we were supposed to record 2 days ago, like you said, the day before you did that. Mm-hmm. And if we weren't able to get it in this little window now, it would probably be 2 or 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
So that would have been a bit much. That was really nice of you. And boy, did people think you did a good job. Me, the first. But yeah, it's probably our most praised episode.
Damn it. I still wanna point out that the dynamic between us is better than me on my own.
Most definitely. And there's already been more laughing than in the whole of yesterday's episode, I think.
Yeah, I think I smiled once, and then I looked back at it, and I was like, how dare you smile, you piece of shit.
No, it was really a perfect mix.
That's good.
So yeah, as people might see, I'm shooting this from my hospital room at the Shuv in Lausanne with my little buddy here who's hooked up right now to my chest.
Uh-huh.
But I think we're going to have to rewind a bit to say sort of the last 2 weeks, what happened, what that was all about.
Yeah.
Before then getting into the last 2 days where a lot of shit went down.
Uh-huh.
Except where it should. But that's a different story.
Fair. I just want to say, because it's you, I'm drinking chocolate milk. Because you're drinking chocolate milk.
Yeah, we did not plan this.
Well, isn't that wonderful? We both love chocolate milk more than life itself. That's a weird thing to say in these times, but you know, chocolate milk is the milk of life.
Mine has like extra dextrose and vitamin and protein in it, which I thought would be good so I can make it through the whole episode.
Mine has sugar.
That too. Sugar is good too. I ate about a handful of Haribo Bears.
Nice.
Right before this, also to try and get my sugar up.
All right, so cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
I'll add the little cling sound, even though it doesn't work. So yeah, and then we'll start the episode.
Great. Because the last episode with both of us ended, we did it right after I came out of my 4th round of chemo in Neuchâtel.
Yeah.
And so the week after that, the beginning of the week was pretty calm for me. I saw a few friends, ate some stuff, as usual. Went to see the physio with my arm a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then on the Thursday, It was my birthday, and my
Happy
first
birthday.
thank you, buddy. My first birthday present was to go do a cardiac test at the hospital.
Well, isn't that what you've always wanted?
Exactly. And I expected these cardiac tests, and I was feeling a little bit, I had, my cough was still bothering me. I was feeling better, but I had still this bad sort of chronic cough that I've had for like the past 3 episodes that keeps bothering me. And I thought that the cardiac test was like putting you on a bicycle and having you bike until you throw up. And when I got there, he was like, no, we're just going to lie you down and do an ultrasound. I was like, oh, wow. I was sure we were going to do this biking till I drop. He was like, that's what everybody thinks we do. Everybody thinks all we do is torture them. He said, we do that to very few people. That would only be people if they have a cardiac problem that arises when they get exerted.
Yeah.
So they try and reproduce that to see the test. Me, it was just to get a general evaluation of what my heart capacity and stuff was like. He was pretty happy. My heartbeat was a bit fast, but regular, and he explained that by just the cancer in general, so he wasn't worried about it. But other than that, I was my heart was in pretty good shape. And then right after that, I got to go home and have a birthday party, which was quite fun. I didn't do the ball-shaped food and stuff yet, even though we got all sorts of great suggestions on the internet. But I was planning on keeping that for my cancer's birthday party.
Yeah, because this was just you. This wasn't the cancer.
Exactly. This was just my birthday. I'm older than my cancer.
Well, thank fuck for that.
As far as I know, at least. And so we had a a good evening with, I think, everybody around the table. You knew them. You met them last time you were in Switzerland. And we had many slider burgers, sort of make your own slider party, mac and cheese, and lots of good food. Then the next day, you came to Switzerland.
I did.
Which we never realized that Oslo to Switzerland is like 12 hours or something.
I now hate Germany more than I originally did because I had to have a 9-hour layover in Frankfurt. So that was fun.
And they didn't even give you like a free Frankfurter to eat, did they?
That's true. But I kept saying our mantra, it's not as bad as cancer. It's pretty close, but it's not as bad as cancer.
And I remember you saying, I think in the 2 episodes ago, that we would refilm a slow-mo reunion of us at the airport.
Yeah.
But I didn't even come pick you up.
I wouldn't expect you to. Your mother showed up in the middle of the night and picked me up, and we drove in the dark rain back to Neuchâtel.
And then you got to have sliders and chocolate cake, though.
Delicious sliders, even better cake.
And that's which made by my dad, the cake, who is a cake maestro.
He indeed is. You haven't lived until you've tried a Larry Barnes cake.
But actually, I forget one thing. I'm skipping over one thing. Before you arrived, after the birthday, before you arrived, on what was supposed to be I was going to pick you up at 2, I had to stop by the Shuv to meet my new doctors.
Yes.
And find out what the plan was.
Which is the hospital you're in now.
Absolutely. It's very hospital, and I came here, and it was already slightly different. Well, first of all, they send you to go on the meeting is please come and sign in on the ground floor on the 8th floor, which doesn't make much sense.
How many floors are there in total?
I believe 19, and I'm on the 12th right now.
But if you're on the 12th floor and the 8th floor is the ground floor, you're on the 4th floor-ish.
That is true. I only have to go up 4 floors. That's very true. And some of the floors I think must be underground. I still haven't quite figured it out. But so anyway, and I was really impressed about how they greeted you already there. I went and sat in the waiting room, and 3 minutes later, it's not like they'll call your name. A woman came up to me and said, "Hello, Mr. Barnes, come this way," and brought me to meet the specialist, who's the blood specialist. Basically, they mostly treat, and the chemo I'm doing now is mostly for leukemia type cancers, blood cancers. And he explained to me they do about 70 patients with blood cancer a year here at the Shuv, and only 2 with what I have.
Okay.
I'm still wondering if I'll get to meet the other guy sometime this year. I don't know. And then he told me, of course, early on, he said, you have to know there is a risk of death from the treatment. He said it's only about 1 out of 70 people of those 70 that come, and he himself has never lost a patient, which is kind of reassuring. And because if he lost one of the 2, that would make it a 50-50 chance, so that wouldn't be good. And he said that the one person who dies is usually somebody quite elderly. somebody not so young and strapping as I am. And so I met him, and he explained what the process was going to be. In very short, it's basically harvest my stem cells, freeze them, come back a little later, do 3 days of chemo, 1 day of rest, then get my my stem cells pumped back into me, and then basically have what he called the 7 to 12 worst days of the thing, because basically I'll have zero immune system, and I have to be kept in it's not, I hoped it would be a bubble, like an actual bubble, but it's not. It's just a room where everybody who comes in has to be all bundled up.
Okay.
Not yet now, that'll be at the end of the week. And so there's 7 to 12 days where he basically said it's almost 100% certain you'll get some kind of infection. Could be mouth things, could be whatever. Any little thing can take on quite big proportions, obviously. He said there's a good chance you'll end up in the ICU for at least a few days because they can just take more care of you. Of course, and have a closer eye on you, especially monitor you 24/7. And then basically he had a nurse come in and take some blood samples once he left, which I thought was funny because she had to take like 6. And she said, I don't even think he needs all of these. She said, the more I work here, the more I think that some of these doctors are actually vampires. Which I thought was funny. And we got along right away. To her, I told her about my podcast because I had to laugh at that. I said, oh, well, you might enjoy my podcast if that's your kind of humor, because we do some pretty dark humor in this podcast with a friend. And she was black, so she said, you mean humor about people like me? So I knew we'd get along.
Nice.
And so that was also quite nice to find out there's a very small 3-person nurse team around that doctor. And they're not the ones who come in every day to like just give me my normal shots, but they sort of coordinate everything and make sure that everybody who has to know stuff. But you always deal sort of every day with one of those 3 women. One of them being a British woman, which was quite nice because I get to use some English. And then she gave me one of those very expensive shots because basically I had to go do the stem cell harvesting 5 or 6 days later. And to harvest it, as the doctor explained it, he said these stem cells usually live in your bones. But these shots basically make them start circulating in your blood so that you can extract them without going actually into my bone with a giant needle. And it's a much less intrusive intervention.
Which is very good, because I hear that thingy in the spine is very painful.
Apparently. So I was quite pleased with that. And so then she gave me the first of these shots, and I was supposed to pick up more in Neuchâtel the next day, but there was a little bit of a confusion with the pharmacy in Neuchâtel. I think you remember because you were already here in Switzerland at this point. Then my mom had to drive back to the Shuv to pick up this box, which had 10 syringes in it and was worth $15,000.
$15,000.
About, or francs. But
That's a lot of money.
That's when you're happy to have decent healthcare coverage.
That's true. If you were in the US, you'd be dead long ago.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely. But so then I got these shots. So I had to give myself 2 a day. So like 3 grams of shots a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, to stimulate these white blood cells. So while my mom was rushing off to Lausanne to do this for me, as helpful as she always is, we sat on a terrace and I ate crepes and had a beer.
That's true. It was very pleasant.
It was pretty pleasant indeed. And then the next day, I believe we went up to the mountains.
Yes, that is correct. To a little place called Auxerre in the Swiss Alps.
Exactly, where I didn't do much but hang around the chalet. You went for a little bit of a walk that people might get to see on a video one day.
They will. It was beautiful, but obviously you felt like shit, and I'm not holding that against you, obviously, but physically, it became hard to enjoy the journey when you were in pain.
Yeah, because when you say I came in shit, I think I'm particularly remembering one evening where I was in my room and had to give myself this shot and was having coughing fits at the same time, and I couldn't get it in. You guys were trying to enjoy a nice fondue with me hacking and crying in the next room.
Well, the fondue was great, but Yeah, no, it's just like I said in the solo episode, it's really heartbreaking not being able to help. And I know you don't want solutions because there are none. But
Well, yeah, sometimes there are, but it's the idea of sometimes when I have that and somebody's like, do you want an extra pillow? And I know they just mean well and want to help. But, I mean, an extra pillow isn't going to stop my problem, and I'm aware of that. And sometimes you just have to let me suffer in pain. I was going to say suffer quietly, but suffer loudly, I guess.
you haven't tried those anti-cancer pillows?
Oh, not yet. I should give that a try.
But you managed to get a little bit better during the course of the stay.
A little bit better, yeah, that's true.
We sat under the last night. We sat under the stars and went through which of the IMDb 250 best list we had seen. You couldn't hear anything. It was starlight. It was a magic evening, and you had seen more movies than me.
Not that many more.
You had some holes in Charlie Chaplin, Hitchcock, and some Japanese samurai movies, but apart from that, you had seen most of it.
Yeah, but I mean, you had still seen most of it as well. Just a few less than me.
That's true. You are wiser than me. You are older than me as well.
That's what I was going to say. I have a 6-year head start on you. So I remember from 1 to 6 when I was watching Citizen Kane and that kind of stuff. And so then that trip we were supposed to do, I think, 3 or 4 days up in the mountains, but had to go down to Lausanne a day earlier because I had to get my stem cells harvested.
Which is a normal sentence to say.
Absolutely. And that was also done, well, sort of at the Shuv. I had to come into the Shuv on, I believe it was the Tuesday, and they had to take tests, obviously, to see if these shots had been working, if they'd be able to harvest stem cells from me.
Yeah.
So I was here all afternoon, but that was a pretty easy afternoon. Didn't have much else to do than have them do a few tests, and I made some phone calls, and I think I watched something on TV. I only got the confirmation the next morning that they could actually do the harvesting after the next morning's blood test. And they said, sure, this is a little place. It's actually the blood donation center, which is 10 minutes from the hospital. So I got driven there at like 9, 10 in the morning. Extremely nice team there again, who hooked me up to basically a centrifugal machine thing. It's sort of, the way it works is sort of like doing dialysis. Mm-hmm. I had a tube in each arm, and they put a hot blanket over me, which was not great because it was hot.
To warm your blood?
Because they had to stay, well, especially the fact that the blood, because it comes out one arm and goes back in the other.
So it's like a fun fair.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like if I tell you something smart, it goes in one ear and comes out the other, but it's not doesn't quite work. It's something like that.
That's very, very close.
But the reason for the heat blanket is that so it goes out, and then it goes into the centrifugal machine, which cools it down, and they want it to be warm again when it's in you. So heat blanket. It wasn't much of a choice.
Okay.
But that was all right. And the sort of bad part is that my left arm that had an actual big metallic needle in it, where they were taking the blood out, had to stay immobile. Uh-huh. And when I say mobile, I mean at one point the thing started beeping, and she was like, "You moved," and I was like, "No, I didn't." And she was like, "Yes, you." I said, "No, I didn't." And she looked, and I had maybe moved this much, like I don't know, 2 minutes on a watch face kind of thing. And she said, "No, that can already start screwing it up." And they warned me though that this would probably take 2 days because they probably wouldn't be able to get enough. They needed to get 4 million something, I guess, stem cells. And she said, "Don't get your hopes up that it'll be out today." Then, actually, about an hour later, she did some calculations, and she said, "Yeah, I think we can maybe make it to 4 million today, especially if we push it and keep going until the sort of very last minute possible to get it to the lab on time." And so the reason being what could change it was how well I was supporting it and how fast they could do it. And so they could basically keep the speed up quite fast. And so I sat there for, I think, total very close to 5 hours, maybe 4.5. And all my blood basically did 4.5 circuits through me. It came out 4.5 times.
Okay.
All my blood being how many liters is your guess?
In a normal person or you?
In me. What does that mean? I'm not a normal person? You dick.
I think you have about, I want to say 5.
Oh yeah, I mean it was 5.125.
I'll claim victory on that guess.
Yeah, you absolutely deserve it. I thought it was 6 or 7 actually myself when she did it. But 6 or 7, I guess, would be a larger person. And Shaquille O'Neal is probably like 60.
At least. Yeah.
Or something like that. But so she said, yeah, I think we might make it. And they did this, harvested my stuff until whatever it was, 3:15, then sent me back to the hospital. I still didn't know at this point if I'd be able to leave, when I'd be able to leave, because they had to analyze it, obviously. And then about a couple of hours later, the doctors came back to see me. So this is the blood doctor, the head doctor for the floor, his assistant, and 2 nurses came in. And they were sort of all standing there. Like, so did you give him the good news, or should I give him the good news? Do you want to give him the good news? I'll give him the good news. So I sort of figured there was the good news. And so instead of getting 4 million stem cells, they got 5.3 in one day. So that's really good. Especially that means they'll give me 5.3 back. So I guess that's even better than just 4.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Cool.
Thank you. It was bloody good news, I must say.
Bloody brilliant.
And then the good news is that it meant like an hour after hearing that, I was allowed to get the hell out of Dodge. I.e., have you and my brother pick me up to go to a small village in the outskirts of Lausanne that is not called Dodge.
Yes.
I think you had a pretty nice day while I was getting my blood harvested, didn't you?
I did. I enjoyed the beautiful lakeside city of Lausanne. Your brother, he took me to the Val de Joux. La
Vallée de Joux.
Which is like a watchmaker's valley where they have all the big brands of watches. We had an amazing lunch at the Watchmakers Hotel. We went to a museum and saw super expensive, magnificent super time watches. And then we went to Lausanne and went to the Olympic Museum, which was awesome.
As you said in your last postcard, my brother is a planner extraordinaire.
He truly is. He has a, what did he say? He has a degree in hospitality, like a PhD in hospitality. It's not a PhD, but something equivalent of that. So he knows his stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kevin.
And then we had the next day, which was your last full day here. We hung out in Lausanne, and I am slightly less of a planner extraordinaire. I took you to KFC and then home. Yes,
but we both enjoy KFC. It's a guilty pleasure thing.
This is true. And then we both needed a nap.
Severely. Like a coma thing.
That's what the K stands for in KFC, I think. And so then you left on we're getting to this, that's Friday 10 days ago now, I believe?
Something like that.
Friday 10 days ago, you left, and then I went to France for the weekend.
As you do.
Beautiful little village where a very, very good friend of mine has a place that used to belong to his granddad. It's a beautiful little quiet village. It sort of looks like nobody lives there every time I've been. All the houses seem empty, but there are tourists walking around and look at it, and it's gorgeous, and I was taken care of like a king. I went with 10 people. I didn't have to do anything. I played one game of pétanque in front of the house where I sat down in a chair between every throw and drinking, not rosé, but drinking iced tea out of a wine glass. And they made a beautiful dinner. And it almost sounds like a joke who I went with, because I was there with a doctor, a psychiatrist, and a chiropractor. No, and an osteopath. Could be the beginning of a joke. Mm-hmm. But we had quite a nice time. This is a place we used to go. I hadn't been for, I think, 10, 15 years. But we used to go with a group of buddies every year or so and just drink lots of wine, eat lots of meat. This is probably the first time I had less than one glass of wine on the whole weekend. Drove back the next day. And then when I got back, I did get to take advantage of my osteopath buddy. He worked on my arm for about an hour while people made dinner. And then I got home to Neuchâtel. And already on the trip home, I think it was the ride and the position in the car. And I guess I hadn't slept that much. I probably should have gone to bed a bit earlier. And I was feeling crappier and crappier and crappier. Got to Neuchâtel, felt pretty bad. And went to my good friend Christophe's instead of going right home. You know, Christophe, the redhead.
DJ Camon.
Exactly, him and Francette. And they took I was just going to stay there for an hour. Bonjour, merci. I was just going to stay there for a brief time originally, but they ordered great pizzas because they live right across from the pizza place you ate at when you were dying of cheese cancer.
This is true.
And so I stayed on their balcony and hung out with them, and he gave me a pretty good back rub, and then they graciously paid for me for a taxi to go home. And so they're very, very good friends. Very nice people. And I went home and I was okay. I had the physiotherapist.
So gingers do have souls then?
They do indeed. They do indeed. Maybe they're just good at pretending. Who knows?
All right.
And so the next day I had physiotherapist, which was that's when I started realizing, I'm really getting shorter and shorter of breath because I had to stop like every 150 meters, sit down for 300 meters, sit down for 3 minutes, and then walk a bit more. And I was still like out of breath when I got to the physio place. And even her, when she was pressing in the right places, it was because the pain had come quite a bit back to my arm. She would press and it was almost making me nauseous from the pain, even though it was also doing good. I don't know if you know what I mean. Sometimes nausea and pain are connected. And then my wonderful friend Marianne came and picked me up because I was like, even just walking home the little bit of street I'd have to do is going to take me 20 minutes instead of 3. And so she came and nicely carried my stuff down to my place, and I got to get a bit of rest at home. And then the pain in my arm, even though the physio sort of helped for a bit, started coming back Tuesday. I wasn't feeling good. It was worse and worse. I was starting to think I maybe have to go to the ER because it's getting really worse and worse, and it's keeping me up. And you started getting to that phase where all you can think about is that pain and nothing else, and there's no position that makes it help. But I remember last time I went to the ER, it took me 6 hours to end up basically leaving with aspirin.
Yeah.
So I figured there's not much point in that. And I was thinking, I sort of had the idea, I have the group with about 90, 100 people in it where I share pretty much everything that I'm going through.
The WhatsApp group, yeah.
Exactly. And I figured this is another reason why I would recommend people doing it. Because if you need something, you can ask it in there. And you're asking a whole bunch of people that want to help, that are all they've told me many of them feel helpless, and they keep saying, anything you need, ask me. So I was going to write in there, but I thought it was a bit late. It was 10 o'clock at night already. I said, I should have thought of this earlier. And Marianne said, no, just make a message. If worse comes to worse, nobody will answer, which will leave you in the same situation as now, but somebody might. And so I said, please, does anybody have any hardcore painkillers? And within 5 minutes, I had like 12 answers. 8 of them being, yes, we do have some. I've got some left over from this operation. The other 4 are saying, no, but I could probably find you some if you want me to make a couple of phone calls. My friend who I was away on the weekend with, who's a doctor, he said he could send me a prescription in the morning if I needed it. But so then basically I chose the 2 closest people who had some, and who both agreed to bike over. One of them had just taken a sleeping pill. But he's not a doctor, but he's trained as a doctor. So I was like, okay, let's say you know what you're doing. And so they came, and we had a nice... So I said, already the discomfort went down a bit when you know the painkillers are coming.
Yeah.
You already feel a bit better.
The placebo effect.
Exactly. And we had a nice little chat outside my place, sitting outside at 10:30 with my 2 drug dealers. And so I don't know if you know it, Tramal. I don't know if it's the same name where you are.
Yeah.
Tramal, which comes in drops, and Tramadol, which is sort of the same version in pills. And they gave me that. And the first night I took a Tramadol, I took a sort of calming pill, and I fell asleep for like 4 glorious hours. And then woke up and just repeated the process, took the same thing again, fell back asleep, and that was just a wonderful night. For like 8 hours of actual sleep, not waking up to my pain. And then the next day I didn't have the pills, I just had the drops, which you can sort of dose yourself, 10 drops, 20 drops, 30 drops. And I didn't want to overdo it. And so I took, I can't remember, 20 drops every so many hours, and didn't have that great a night. It helped. It was much better than like 2 days before, but wasn't the best night. And then I spoke to my friend, the doctor, Pietro, on the next day, and he said, no, double what you were taking if you want it to work. That'll be the equivalent of what you did with pills. So I did that on that night, and it was fine. Again, pretty good night. I was pretty happy. Things were under control. And then went back to the physio on that Friday. Was feeling pretty good. Had a good Friday night. And then went to a brunch at my friend Camille's, who you, of course, because you know all my friends now.
Camille, bonjour Camille, je t'aime.
What's the other sentence you tell you?
Putain sa mère la pute.
We'll let our English-speaking people look that up for themselves. It's kind of
naughty.
It is indeed. And so a brunch at her place, which we've been doing for, I think I've already spoken about it in the podcast.
7,000 years.
Yeah, we go once or twice a month, have a brunch where people bring different stuff. And usually I make the eggs. This time I did nothing.
You lazy bastard.
I was the first person there. Lay down on her couch.
She has a good couch.
She has a damn good couch. That is true. And lay down on that couch and didn't move for the next 8 hours, except if I had to pee. And people would bring me a drink, would bring me some food. Although I didn't have great appetite because the pain hadn't disappeared completely.
Camille probably would have allowed you to pee in her couch.
Somebody would have brought me a bottle if I'd asked, at least, yeah. If I really didn't want to move, that is true. And my good friend Sarah was there also, who was nice because she was able to do my blood thinner shot for me and made that nicer. I didn't know this actually until then, is also trained as a reflexologist. So she did basically a foot massage.
Of reflexologist?
Yeah, it's pressing on places on your feet that are connected to places and make you feel good. But the easiest way to say it, it's a foot massage with a little bit of knowledge of what you're doing.
I was just expecting you to be able to throw a ball towards her face and she could always just like reflex.
That would be cool. I'll try that. I'll throw a ball at her face next time I see her.
Just use the fake ball, and when she's not looking, and she'll probably do like, I'm a reflexologist.
That's a good idea. So she gave me a really long and really nice foot massage. My buddy Christoph gave me a nice back massage again because he's quite good at that kind of thing. And as I said, Marianne's boyfriend Yvon made specific food just for me, which I didn't really eat because I still didn't have much of an appetite. But the little bits I did eat were great. Mm-hmm. And then at about 8, decided to go home. Marianne, my friendly taxi woman, offered, of course, to drive me. So I said, I'll come at the same time. And when I got up, even just getting up and going down to the car, I felt a little bit crummier. Not great. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it was a longish day, even though I didn't do anything. Went back to my place. Marianne Castilla was in discomfort and again got out, carried my bags downstairs. My bag downstairs. I didn't take suitcases to the brunch. But she carried that down for me, and I lay down on my bed. Not feeling great. Had sort of slight weird chest pain. Mm-hmm. And then had a nap for an hour and a half or two. And when I woke up, I thought I was having a heart attack, basically. My whole left side of my chest was excruciating pain that went back through to the other side of the shoulder. So nothing like these other pains I'd had before, really. A sort of completely new place. And it was scary. I was feeling shit, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I first sent a message to people who were at the brunch who were still there, and they immediately said, well, call an ambulance, which I sort of knew I had to do. And then in my place, I sometimes have reception problems. My phone would not call the ambulance. I had to turn it off like 3 times to try and get bars again. Then it says, yeah, you've got 4Gs, you've got bars. I would call and nothing would happen. And this is me getting more and more worried and scared. Sent a message to Marianne and somebody else, and luckily that ended up going through. So they called the ambulance for me. And about 10 minutes later, I had 5 ambulance people. But this must be a better word than an ambulance person.
Sickly carrying people.
That's the word.
Yes.
And so they came into my room, and it really did feel, I thought that was like, again, which I've said about doctors sometimes, felt like a clown car with these keeps being another ambulance person coming in, and another, and there was 5 of them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they put they gave me an ECG, an electrocardiogram, by putting those little things. They hook up some cables. They did that. They, I think, already gave me a shot of something for the pain, because it was excruciating pain. Mm-hmm. I would say not probably as bad as when I had the lung collapse, but in the same sort of vicinity. Mm-hmm. And more frightening, maybe, because if it had been on the right, I would have just thought it was a lung problem. And been like, well, I've been there, done that, this will be fine. Left side is a bit more worrisome. Mm-hmm. And so they took me to the Neuchâtel hospital and did another ECG there and gave me a little bit of morphine there, and the pain went down pretty quick. And again, as I say, morphine is great.
Let's just reiterate, he's on morphine right now.
Oh, I am, yeah. Any minute there could be a group of people in pink, blue, yellow, green latex that could run in to give me more. Yeah. And of course, the mighty morphine Power Rangers.
But if you weren't on morphine right now, you'd probably be lying in that bed in excruciating pain. So
most definitely.
Thank you, morphine.
Because in a minute I'll get to the exact explanation of how well it works. But yeah, the pain went down really quick. And then I had to wait for some other tests they did. They did an X-ray. And they were already telling me they were probably going to keep me for the night and maybe the whole next day before sending me to the SHUV. Which from the beginning, I was like, no, please don't do that. This is my last day out. I want to go home. I said, if going home means that my life is going to be threatened, I will stay. If there's any way of getting me home, let me get out. And so they did all these different tests and said it was probably pericarditis, as you explained yesterday, which I won't re-explain because I'm not a doctor. And but so anyway, they at 6 o'clock basically said I could go, and that they weren't worried. It was probably that, but it was not life-threatening since I was going to the SHUV. In any case, 24 hours later, let's say. And it was quite funny, so I had to go outside and call myself a taxi, sitting there in pajamas and barefoot.
Whoa.
Because I hadn't even brought any shoes. So that was fun. Then went back to my place. This is like 6:30. Had a rest for a few hours. Then phoned my mom and told them about it, because I debated the night before. Should I tell them? And I came to the conclusion that no, there's not much point. They're not going to be able to come sit with me. They're just going to worry more. I might as well wait till the next day. Mm-hmm. So then phoned my mom, said, yeah, I was at the hospital all night. I'm coming over to your place today before leaving to SHUV, but I'm going to try and sleep some more, and that was my Sunday. Then at 2, 3, went back to their place, and basically pretty much immediately lay down on my bed there and didn't move until the next morning, except to throw up in a bucket once in a while. Because of this coughing that came. I had just constant coughing. My mom got really worried, of course, wanted to take me back to the hospital. Maybe I said, no, I'm going tomorrow. This will be okay. I had a terrible night. Barely didn't sleep at all. From Sunday to Monday, probably like 2 hours at the end.
Yeah. I spoke to your mom and she said that was the worst night she had seen. And she was so worried, obviously.
Yeah, I can believe it, because I had the back pain that was back, plus the coughing, and like the position where you coughed the least was the one that hurt your back the most.
Well, that's helpful.
Opposite, so there was no good solution. Mm-hmm. I tried to watch something to get my mind off the pain. Probably made a stupid decision by watching Jackass 4.5. Which is people hurting themselves and throwing up. So that may not have been the smartest thing. I'm not making that up for comic value. That's actually what I watched on that afternoon. But so I had that horrible night, and I knew it was horrible because I could tell from the light in the cracks that my mom was up, because, she could hear me yelling and crying and hacking, and it wasn't even really throwing up because I hadn't eaten much in 2 days. It was just saliva coming up from me not being able to stop coughing. Which is why I find it funny when people keep congratulating me on how brave I am. And I was like, you should see me in this times. I'm only brave when I feel good, which to me isn't really being brave. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's easy to stay positive when you feel fine.
that's true. I was touching upon that yesterday in the solo episode that it's been important for you to deal with this on your own terms in terms of the podcast, which shows a brave face and you are brave and all that stuff. But there's another side to it, which is the horrible pain.
Yeah, I definitely don't want people to think that I'm always chipper like in the podcast. That isn't the point. I obviously wouldn't record an episode the way I felt that Sunday night because that would be horrible to watch. Just me going, would not make for good TV.
Well, it would be the truth, but sure, it's you're more entertaining on morphine. I'll give you
Yes.
that.
But it is true that for the first whole season, I never felt like that. The first whole season basically reflected pretty close to how I felt most of the time. But I do want people to know that I'm not like a magician who's just breezing through it all.
Yeah.
There are down moments and really, really down moments, and especially these past couple of days.
Yeah.
And so then the next morning, which is yesterday morning, my mom drove me to the Shuv, which is like an hour drive, an hour and 15 minutes drive from our place with the morning rush hour. Mm-hmm. And I just lay there in the back of the car, and the back seat didn't say a word to my mom the whole trip. I can't imagine how unpleasant that ride must have been for her, knowing she's driving me there to drop me off and can't do anything. Here come hiccups again. And so got to the hospital pretty much on time, and the doctor, the head of the floor, and the nurse came and said, "How are you? Ooh, you're not as good as last time we saw you." They could basically tell because I was sitting there hunched over, and I explained I haven't eaten much in 3 days. I haven't slept in the past 2. I feel terrible. I had to go to the ER, and I had the stuff for them to explain it. And you could see that got them a little bit worried because they were supposed to be starting a pretty hardcore treatment ASAP yesterday. And this could potentially push off the start of that or complicate things. But they said, well, we'll see what we can do. I'll go talk with the other doctors, take you to your room. And I still had lots of pain. Here, luckily, first thing they said was, well, here, let's give you some morphine. And they gave me it's a little syringe with no needle. But you just push it into your mouth.
On your tongue?
Yeah, just swallow it, basically. I don't know why it's in a syringe. It could just be a little glass would have been the same. But I guess it's just easier for them to put, here's 2 milliliters, give you that.
Could you taste anything?
Yeah, it tastes. I don't mind. I can't explain the taste, but it's not unpleasant. The more I had, the more I wanted.
So a little morphine cocktail then.
Exactly. And they gave me like 2 milliliters of that. It helped for a little bit, but like 45 minutes later, I was like, yeah, the pain never disappeared. And it's now, I think I've already gone past its lowest point. It's coming back up. They said, okay, let's give you another 2 milliliters of morphine. And then the doctors came in to tell me what the plan of attack was. And I was still feeling in pain. I was lying right in that bed that you can't see. Again, you can't see it. I'm lying on the bed back there. And they came with some not great news. They basically explained what they were going to have to do. And he said, well, yeah, as I told, he explained, first of all, in terms of proportion. He said, yeah, if about 2 months ago, in March, if your tumor was this big, so that coincised, in a month after it was about the size of an orange, and now it's a basketball.
Which is not fucking good.
No, not great.
And where is this tumor located?
Right above the hoop.
Yes.
That was a slam dunk joke.
3-pointer.
I think it was more proportionally speaking. It's not, as a friend who came by and visited yesterday, he said it can't really be an actual basketball, or it must be deflated, because otherwise it would be sticking out somewhere.
Yeah.
This is the lung stuff, and this is what he explained. That's what's giving the cough. That's what caused the heart problem, this pressing against the wall of my heart. And so, yeah, he explained this is very big. Now basically you have two plans of attack. Well, no, you can't even call them two plans of attack. It's two options. The one option is you've had enough by now, and we just let nature run its course basically, and you'll be dead in a matter of weeks or months at best. Which was the first time somebody said, I mean, death has been mentioned. As I said last time, he said one patient out of 70. But this is the first time it was sort of that concrete about you. And he said, otherwise we do this chemo, which is not a guaranteed that it'll work because the treatment can kill you when you have your stuff down. And he said, as I told you, I've never lost a patient, but your prognosis is much worse than theirs, all of theirs was. So it's not like, hey, this is going to work. And I obviously said, well, I choose plan B. I want to try. And he said, well, yeah, I expected that answer because the question is really for like a 97-year-old who's gone through tons of stuff where you might just say, okay, I'm good for now. But no, so I said, I'll go through with the chemo, obviously. And this was horrible because I felt so bad because of the pain. It wasn't even reacting to what he was saying to me that I'm pretty sure if he had told this to me today, I would have been okay with the news. Because I didn't expect him to come in with like, oh, by the way, all this pain and shit you've had for the past 3 days, actually turns out that was your cancer leaving. I knew bad news was coming. Mm-hmm. But so I obviously said, yeah, I'll start. And they said, okay, we'll see when we can start. We've got to do some more tests. So yesterday I got wheeled around the hospital about 4 times to do a scanner, to do an x-ray, to do another heart ultrasound, which very nice doctor. I lay on her bed crying, and she was like, "Is this painful?" I was like, "It's not you. It's just my back." And there was no position, and they had just given me 5 milliliters of morphine in the arm though, which acts faster, but it hadn't acted yet. And so I was just there feeling really, really shitty, and came back up. The pain was subsiding by now. And then they explained what they're really trying to do is control the pain here. So that it's not me that has to say, hey, it's starting to hurt again, give me more. It's so that I never get to that point and I just never feel pain. And then they decided on doing 10 milliliters every 4 hours, shot into this. You don't even have to put it into I don't know if you'll be able to see this. This is just a very short one that just goes into the fat here, basically, the muscle. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have to give me every 4 hours an actual shot. And that, after they did that, at 7:45 yesterday, and they were giving me the next one was at 8. 7:45, I was like, I hope it's soon. I'm feeling a bit of pain. That's the last time I've actually felt pain now since then. We're now like 24 and some hours later, and I haven't actually had the back pain or the arm pain or any pain. So they've got that under control, and it's lovely to know. And
which
like my next morphine shot is in an hour. The last one was 3 hours ago, and that is such a life changer. At the end of the day yesterday, I had 2 friends came over to see me. I was happy to see them. I suddenly had a different outlook. I couldn't go as far as saying I'm optimistic about the outcome of this whole thing, because this is sort of the last plan of attack. If this whole thing doesn't work, it doesn't work, and there's not really much else. But I can at least deal with it a lot better, because I really think, pain is the worst of all this past year. It's those times when the only thing in your mind is pain, pain, pain. I couldn't watch a TV show yesterday to try and change my mind. If now I'm feeling down because, hey, I know this shitty treatment is coming up, I can change my mind by having a phone call with someone, by putting on some stand-up comedy. Yesterday, it's nothing. It's just lying there, and just pain, pain, pain will not disappear. So it was a complete game changer when they got that down.
I must say that, first of all, I'm very happy that you're pain-free, finally. But it's absurd that it took so long and that the whatever medical establishment hasn't prioritized less pain or not taking you seriously or whatever it is.
I kind of agree. Maybe it was also me not vocalizing it enough, and this got so bad that I didn't have to say anything. I don't know. It might be partly my fault, but I don't think so. I thought I was being honest about the pain I felt. But this time you could literally, just see it. Just on my face before I opened my mouth and I walked in, I think you could tell I was in discomfort.
Yeah.
And so then last night I found out, so I was like, so when do we start the chemo? I figured it was going to be a few days. They said, in like an hour. And I was like, today already? And they're like, yeah, we're going to start the chemo today because we have to do 3 days, a day off, and then do the blood cells, inject the blood stems. And the people who do that don't work on Saturday. So it has to be...
That was the reasoning?
Yeah, it's because that's in a different building. The blood... I'm sure if they really, really had to, if there was no other choice, I imagine there's somebody who can do it. But this was... And anyway, it's also that they wanted to start as quick as possible because every day counts at this point.
Yeah.
So I was happy, and it was last night, same kind of chemo as last time, a few pre-medication, different drugs to make it go smoothly. Then 2 times an hour of the actual chemo, which is a lot stronger than last time, and finished that yesterday at about 8, I guess. And then I had my friends. So that's the beautiful thing. I have this room to myself for the next 3 weeks.
No shitty roommates.
No shitty roommates, and it means that they can. I can have guests later, longer, because I'm not bothering anybody. So my 2 buddies, technically visits finish, I think, are only from 1 to 8. I had both my 2 buddies here from like 7:30 to 9:30 last night, and that was great. Still didn't have much of an appetite, I must say. Yesterday didn't eat much, but that's been coming back this morning. I got complimented because I ate my breakfast.
Hey.
And then the dietitian, the lunch didn't really suit me, but I said my mom's bringing me Subway sandwich in a bit, and she was like, "That's great. Here, have a bag of chips with it." She went to get me chips. She was like, "Anything you want, especially right now, that makes you want to eat it, be it fast food, junk food, whatever, eat it, because you will be losing your appetite in a bit, and we want you to eat as much as possible." Because I lost 4 kilos in the 10 days since last I'd been here.
Okay.
Which is where they start getting worried. That's like 5% of my weight. I'll let you mathematicians calculate my weight.
I'm not going to try to John Nash that.
I said mathematicians, not you.
I said John Nash. He's a famous mathematician.
You said you were going to try and John Nash it, though, which you obviously can't do. You could do like my friend Nicola, who likes saying that. He says, "I'm really bad at math, but I'm quick as hell." He says, "Give me a calculation, and I'll do this," and he'll just give a random number. He says, "He was wrong, but boy, was I fast." I've always liked that one.
That's nice.
And so, that was day 1 of chemo yesterday. Today, I ate quite a bit more. I had day 2 of chemo, which finished at 4 today or something, 5, because they want to have it start a bit earlier every day now since the first day was very late. Tomorrow I should be done by 2. Yesterday I had 0 side effects. That's the word I was looking for before. One of the pre-meds they give you is cortisone, which the doc had said you'll probably feel better after the chemo today than before because of that. And then he said it'll go slightly downhill the next day. And so now so far all it's been is this little hiccup that's been back. But I had like 4 visits today already. My friend Nielsen Audrey drove in from Neuchâtel to see me. My brother and my mom came over. And a very, very good friend of mine who sadly passed away a few years ago, his sister came to see me. She knows a lot about hospitals because she's had a heart transplant, and she's been very supportive, even though I've known her for 30 years, but don't see her very often, so that was very nice of her to come over. And I had, other than a few more tests again, I had a pretty decent day. I had to spend half of it answering messages thanks to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you've received tons and tons, and thank you for following my orders, people. Keep sending them. He said yesterday to me that he was worried that he wouldn't be able to answer quick enough or even answer everyone. But I said, you'll understand.
I think I pretty much have answered everyone, except I've seen, because in the background I've got Facebook open, I've got a few messages from people who don't write me much as we've been talking. So I would imagine that's what it is. Because I had, messages from a friend of my brother's, a Norwegian guy, who I met like twice at my brother's party 4 years ago, and he lives in Amsterdam now. He wrote me. One of my very earliest friends, who I had when I was like 4 years old, and now lives in LA. She wrote through Instagram. You passed it on to me. I had friends of my mom's. I had just tons and tons of heartwarming messages. Some of them just to say hello. Some of them just 2 hearts. Some of them with a stupid joke. As you said, it was really nice.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Have to get my thumb operated on though. Maybe added a new problem to all this.
I had a bunch of people who contacted me as well. Obviously not the same amount, but basically saying, sending you, telling me to say hi to you. I had one girl who I've never actually met, and she said, "Great episode today." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And she was like, "But Joseph is a lot funnier than you. So can you get him back?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll do that." I know I'm not that funny.
Well, I don't know. You made a lot of people cry with yesterday's episode.
I have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, and for once you weren't kicking them in the balls.
They're going to cry at the postcard as well. Even I'm crying when I'm looking at that. And that's coming.
The new one coming up?
Yeah. I made people cry at the last one. I like making people cry.
But yeah, so I've gotten a lot of messages because last week also, remember two episodes ago, we had the news there filming us.
Uh-huh.
And that aired a week ago, 8 days ago. And that, again, also I got tons of messages from people I haven't seen for even longer because they just saw it on the news and wrote me. But yesterday's people, and I agree, a lot of them just complimented what a beautiful friendship we have, and what a wonderful friend you were, and I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's what friends are for. Keep smiling, keep shining. I'm not going to sing the whole song.
I don't know what the song was. I'm an idiot, probably.
That's what friends are for.
Oh, okay.
It's like Stevie Wonder and Dionne Warwick and Elton John and a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah, okay. You go to more cultural, I don't know what the word is. You have smarter choices. I would have been like, I'll be there for you.
Yeah, friends. That's good. This has been, it's not over yet, but this has been an extra long episode. We're already up to, I think, 17 hours now, but just because it's going to be the last episode for a while because you have enough on your plate, and I just wanted to say on behalf of all the people following that we're really appreciative of both morphine and the fact that you have the strength to do this.
Yeah, I'm really glad we were able to get this one because we even debated an hour ago because I was getting a bit tired. Should we actually do it? And then it was basically, well, if we don't do it now, we won't be able to do it for 3 more weeks, I guess.
Yeah. And so happy that you're pain-free, like I said, so you'll have more of a greater mentality in terms of attacking what you're up against.
Most definitely, that helps a lot to be able to just think about, I can beat this shit. The good news is if I don't, we know that the podcast will work as a one-man show. It just will be very depressing.
Just on that note, it's not going to be a one-man show. It's going to be a Joe show. But I said in the show that we need help in terms of turning it into a charity and a foundation and all that stuff. And people have already contacted us/me saying, I'll do whatever you need me to, which is very nice.
The only bad thing you did in that, just a slight parenthesis here, the only thing that pissed me off in that episode yesterday is you were like, we want to do, well, not pissed me off, wouldn't go that far, but you said we want to do like events, particularly ball sports, tennis, bowling, this, and you never mentioned pétanque, which is the only one I actually play.
Damn it.
Having a boule.
We're doing that as well. Yeah. But that's down the line. First, you're gonna attack this shit with all you've got because we all have faith in you.
Not just with all I've got, which with all this hospital has.
Well, yeah, that's a given.
And that's the nice thing, as the doc was explaining to my mom today. Because again, and you should tell everybody was great here too. It's really the staff, they're amazing. how nice they are. I mean, my mom had a 35-minute conversation on the phone with the nurse yesterday to tell her what I was going through and what was up, because I didn't really feel like having a long conversation and giving all this bad news. And they were explaining here it is. I mean, this is one of the couple of best hospitals in Switzerland, and they have every single type of specialist on hand. So if I do end up going to the ICU and having a complication, they have somebody to deal with whatever complication it is. So I couldn't be in better hands, and there are many, many hands that I'm in at the moment.
That's good. I'm going to say something slightly uncomfortable now, and you're going to have to live with it. And that is, because I'll regret not having said it if I don't say it now.
Say it.
If this doesn't work, if this is the end of the line, I just want to say on behalf of all of us that we love you, Joe. And for me, it's been an honor to do this, and we are doing more episodes. I want us to do more episodes, but just in case we don't, you're my brother, and I love you. And I know that makes you uncomfortable to hear, but
No, it doesn't, because it's absolutely the same back, and I always knew it. But these past year, I've realized it even more. It's funny how much closer. I mean, I think we've always been close for the past 12 years, but how much closer
15.
we got. 15. How much closer we got while still being apart geographically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. I'm very, very grateful that you never hesitated to do this with me, that you decided on your own to do that beautiful episode yesterday. And because knowing that if things do go awry, you'll have to do at least one more of those, I guess.
Yeah.
Which might not be much fun for you.
I'm not going to think about that, but I know that is a possibility, unfortunately. But let's just try to stay positive, because we've done that for about 20 odd episodes.
Yep, absolutely.
But I did say to you several times, this is unfair, Joe. And one of the times you said, well, life is unfair, Andreas. And that sort of punched me in the gut, because it's true.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. I've never mentioned that. I'm not afraid of dying, I must say.
Yeah, but we're afraid of you dying.
I'm sure. I know it'll hurt a lot more other people than me. I don't want to have 5 months of agony before it happens. I'm more afraid of that. If I were to have to die while having an operation, I'm all right with that. But as you say, I know lots of people wouldn't be. And I don't want to die. It's a big difference, obviously.
Yeah, I know. So you're, like we said, you're in the starting stages of a shitty ride.
Yep.
But
I've already done two out of 3 days of this chemo. The shitty part's going to come after, but it's moving along.
Keep sending messages to that guy.
Also, if you have friends going through chemo, going through cancer, send them a message now.
Yeah.
And check your balls. As we said, you don't want to get to this point where it gets this iffy, because really this cancer I have is highly treatable if you get it early. If you get it early, it almost kills no one. So remember to check yourselves. Tell your friends to check yourselves. Go to a bar and tell the burly bartender, have you checked your balls recently? It might get you a free drink if he then does it when he gets home.
Or 2 black eyes.
Or 2 black eyes. We did think that was funny with the news piece. Because in the news piece I mentioned men don't like talking about it and probably don't want to go down to the bar and talk about it. But then somebody mentioned to me that we may have provoked the largest testicle groping in Switzerland ever. That was one of the messages I got. One person said, I never thought I'd be sitting at home touching my balls and thinking of you. Which I thought was quite nice.
That's nice.
So I hope this episode makes sense, because we may have ruined your touching moment, or you may have cut this out to make the touching moment be the end. Might be smarter, who knows?
I think the charm that we've had from the very beginning is that there is no logic to our show.
That's true.
So I think people can appreciate the sappy moment we had a couple of minutes ago, and they can also appreciate that we're ending this episode on our terms, or on your terms. Like we said, it's going to be the last episode in a while. I might record more messages.
Hopefully only in 2 or 3 weeks. hopefully we can do another one when I have my week break in 3 weeks.
By all means,
which is not that long a break.
Yeah, I just mean in terms of you gathering all your strength to deal with this unpleasant situation.
Absolutely. So is this where we end the episode?
I think it is.
And I haven't done anything like this, but it seems like the perfectly fitting one to go. To be continued?
You know those postcards I always seem to write? Well, here's another one. Still charming, still thoughtful, still bright. I'm sure some of you find this pretentious as hell, but I really don't care, as you can probably tell. This will be the most unorthodox postcard yet, but possibly with a message you'll never forget. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, I'm writing this to you, to take you on a journey and show you something new. I traveled back to Switzerland to see my brother Joe. His cancer has been acting up, so I simply had to go. La Suisse is famously known for their watches and their wealth, but ironically, the only thing of true value is time, love, and health. These are the only commodities you simply cannot buy, and despite cherishing every moment, time still has a tendency to fly. But that's not to say you shouldn't embrace it with all you got, because miracles do happen, and no one knows life's plot. We set out to the Alps to get some well-deserved time off, but Joe was sadly in constant agony with nausea and a dreadful cough. It's heartbreaking to see your loved one in so much pain, and not being able to help will make you go insane. I did take a stroll though with Kevin and Anne-Marie on a fascinating trail that you simply have to see. A magnificent place that had an almost spiritual vibe. I mean, you're watching footage of it right now and it's still hard to describe. We could see the signs a mile away. It said vigilance, which is quite descriptive, I must say. The mesmerizing mountains, the sights, the smell, the view. These forces of nature will be here long after me and you. The wheel of time, the flow of water, and the circle of life. It's easy to get sentimental, and the thought of potential loss cuts like a knife. While Joe was in the hospital, Kevin took me to the Vallée de Joux, a place known for the art of horology, and of course its beauty too. We ate an otherworldly lunch at the Watchmaker's Hotel, and saw priceless clockworks guarded as if it was a jail cell. We tried to mess with the concept of time, to find a loophole and bring everything back to its prime. But that sadly can't be done, so we can only hope for the best. I'm not gonna lie, that is quite the gut-wrenching test. The train is in the station, getting ready for that final push. You can do this, Joe. Strike that cancer down with a carefully planned ambush. Where's the fire, you ask? It's right here, right now. Give it all you got, please win, and take a well-deserved bow. I really hope one day we'll laugh at this, my friend. All my strength to you I send. Who am I, the love child of Yoda and William Shakespeare? Anyway, what goes down can come up, or so I've been told. In other words, I'm planning for us to still laugh together when we're grey and old. I hope my postcard didn't just make you all cry and squall. Why not instead subscribe to our cancer podcast, Having a Ball? I'll see you when I see you, you Prince of Colombier, you King of Neuchâtel, your buddy, your friend, your son, your brother, Andreas. Thank you, and I love you.